Alright, hopefully this thing's on. I've actually never streamed on YouTube before, so we'll see how this goes. I've streamed on Twitch many times in my younger days. I've streamed on TikTok in probably the last year or so. I think I've tried YouTube maybe once or twice, but let me know in the chat if anything's off or if you have a hard time hearing me or you can't see the screen or something. Just let me know. We're gonna do camera off for the stream. We're just gonna be trying to find some NFL plays. I gotta figure out how to even find the chat on this thing here. Hang on, give me a minute here. I'm a little scuffed to start out. Sorry about that. Let's see. Where are you, chat? Anyways, we're going to be finding some pretty good plays here. There's so much value on the board right now in Underdog Fantasy. I'll be using Outlier like I have before in some of my other videos to find these plays. Where? Oh, there's a chat. Awesome. Sorry, guys. Cowboys cover camera. My camera's on? You can see me? There's no way my camera's on. Is it really? Hang on, let me pull it up on my phone. We'll see. No, you want me to have it on? We'll see. We'll see. Oh, it's my boy Ox. What's up, man? I didn't realize it was you for a second. Andrew Pelly. What a name. Let me pin the chat in my OBS here so I can actually see everything. Ooh, what did I just do? Chat. There we go. Alright, I'm a bit scuffed, but this will do. Sign into chat. Yep, hang on. Now I gotta go sign in. Alright. Two-factor. Hang on. Give me 1 minute and then we'll get into the plays here. Sorry it's taking me a minute. Jeez, why does YouTube have to make this so complicated? Alright. Hi. We're good. Alright, let's get this rolling here. Let's try to find some plays. I'm going to refresh OddsJam or Outlier really quick, see what we could find here. And I'll probably post this video too later on. Once, I'll cut off the beginning part. I'm just trying to figure out what to do. And we'll drop you down here. Alright, now I can see chat. I can see everything. We're good to go. So. Alright. So, first play here. I actually just posted it in the Discord a few minutes ago. This Tank Bigsby under 2.5 first downs. I do not know why this line's even out here right now. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever. None. He's played, 2 seasons now? This is his second season. Only 1 game he had over 2.5 first downs. I don't know why this line's out here. I really don't. If you go into his rushing attempts, he had 10 at the end of the year last year, 9 around Thanksgiving. He only had 3 attempts last week against Tennessee. I do not see a world where he gets over 2.5 first downs. The guy doesn't get any receptions. He doesn't catch anything. So this line is I'm just jumping on it. I'm putting it with CeeDee Lamb, the free play. Hopefully it's a free win here with Lamb and Bigsby. And we'll just move on that one. For the tackles and assists and stuff, I'm probably going to skip most of these here just because it's tough to gauge what the player's role is in the defense. A lot of players change teams in the offseason, and schemes change as well with defense, and it's going to take a few weeks for these lines to kind of kind of sharpen out and kind of like middle out in a sense, and for the roles to be carved out. Like I know, last week these players still hit these numbers, and their role might be similar to last year's, but like this George Odom under 4.5 tackles, I just don't know. Because there might be an injury here affecting the playing time. I think defense is going to be hard to take props. This Yoshivash guy, I can't even pronounce his name very well. The receiver for the Bengals who's filling in for T. Higgins. Under 17.5 on his longest reception. He has actually never had a reception of 18 yards or higher in his career. And he's had some pretty significant roles in some games. If you look at his receptions and targets, like towards the end of last year, he had 8 targets in a game. His longest reception in that game was 12. Last week he had 7 targets, 5 receptions. He didn't get over 15 for his longest. I think it's a pretty nice bet that he doesn't get over 17.5 yards. Although they are against Kansas City, so they might be down early, which means like Burrow's going to be throwing a lot, and his targets might actually be up closer to like the 9 or 10 range. But maybe Jamar Chase is getting most of the volume too. Or maybe this game ends up being closer than I expect. But the line opened up at 17.5 today on Yoshivas, but I still think it's too low. I'd say put this line at like 15.5, then maybe it's a question, but 17.5 might be too high. Sam Darnold under on the passing attempts. This one's interesting. It's a positive EV, which means Underdog actually has the best line out there for us to take on the under. You see it opened at 34.5. It got bet down to 32.5, and then it got bet back up to 33.5. So it's been teeter-tottering. It might drop down to 32.5 by kickoff. So we might be getting some decent value here on the Sam Darnold under 33.5. Sample size, not much to go off of. Obviously, he didn't start every game last year, but only 24 pass attempts last week against the Giants, although they dominated that game. I think they'll be losing pretty big to San Francisco. So he might throw a bit more, but I think just general, expected value, you're getting a nice value on Sam Darnold under 33.5 passing attempts. I'm probably not going to play it. I will play the Yoshivas, and I already played the Bigsby. Might be a solid play to play the two of them together. Going down the list here, Derek Carr over 63.1 passing completion percentage. That's quite a niche one, but last 10 games, he's gone over this number. Going back to last season, too. Pretty much almost every single game last season except for 3. Ironically, 2 of them are division games, and then 1 of them was against the Jags. They're going up against the Cowboys, not a division game. Cowboys are a decent defense, but Carr's pretty accurate. I think it's a solid play here. He's going to have a bunch of attempts. Last week he only had like 19 attempts, so that's why his completion was so high. He didn't really need to do anything because they won by 31. But I think it's a solid play going with the over 63.1 passing completion percentage. If I was going to make a play, I might just combine these 3. The Bigsby under 2.5 first downs with Yoshivas under on the longest reception, and then Derek Carr over on the passing completion percentage. I already have the Bigsby play, but I definitely want to get action on Yoshivas and Carr. There was another one that I saw on Jordan Mason here, under 12.5 receiving yards, which I found pretty interesting. Last week he had that massive rushing game, really big rushing game against the Jets on Monday Night Football. He just kind of filled in for McCaffrey like it was nothing. He had, how many attempts did he have? He had 28 rush attempts last week. 28 for 147 yards. They're against Minnesota. They'll probably be winning pretty easily. I don't see a need for Jordan Mason to get receptions. We're looking at the under 12.5 on the receiving yards. In his entire career, only 1 game. Granted, his role is pretty limited, with Christian McCaffrey kind of taking up the bulk of everything. But, only 1 time in his career he's gotten over the 12.5 yards. What do we think about Mark Andrews lower than 39.5 receiving yards? Sorry, I missed your chat there. I don't know when it. I'm still trying to get the hang of this with everything. But let me take a look. We'll go players. We'll go Mark Andrews. I mean, he looked really bad last week, but he did get the volume. He did get the air yards. So what are we looking at? 39.5 receiving yards. I'm seeing 42.5 on Underdog. So if you're playing an Underdog and you like the under here, it's a solid play. Only 14 receiving yards last week. Only 2 targets, 2 receptions. Likely got the majority of the targets. However, I believe I saw a stat somewhere on Twitter that Mark Andrews actually played a lot more snaps compared to Isaiah Likely. Likely just got the action in the passing game. So it might be a week where Andrews is getting his back. So quite honestly, I'd probably go with the over. If you have 39.5 on your book, which it was at some point on Underdog, either today or yesterday or whatever, it opened at 41.5, got bet down, and now it's getting steamed back up to 42.5. So if your book still has 39.5, take the over. If you're getting 42.5, it's a little bit of a question. You're losing a bit of value there, but I think he has a good week this week. I really do. Like I said, likely got the passing targets last week. And even though Mark Andrews played more snaps, and they're going to want to get him into the action. I mean, a veteran, he's been their guy for however many years. I think they're going to involve him a bit more this week. What's up, Flacco? Good to see you, man. We're going no camera tonight. We're just trying to find some plays here. So I'll stick around for maybe like an hour or so. Answer any questions you guys have. If you guys want me to look up any players on Outlier, just reach out and let me know. Say it in the chat. Any questions? I'm happy to help you. I've got a couple plays out there. If you're in the Discord, you probably saw them already. I got the CeeDee Lamb with the Tank Bigsby. We did cash on this guy, if you were able to jump on it tonight, and we're looking to cash on this one as well. If Brianna Jones can get us one more point, that'd be nice. So we're rolling right now. We're pretty hot, especially in WNBA, and NFL's been pretty good to us too. I do not do boxing, actually. That is like the one thing I pay zero attention to. If I could help you, I would. And I don't think Outlier's got anything on boxing either. Neither does OddsShopper or maybe Daily Grind. Let me see if DG Fantasy's got anything for you. On Underdog or... I'm not seeing anything on Underdog. What about Prizepicks? Yeah, nothing. It's hard to find data. I don't know. If I had a resource for you, I'd let you know. I just don't. Maybe OddsJam can get me something. If I'm looking at... Where are we going? Boxing. You want Canelo on punches landed. I'm not sure if it'll even give me anything on here. We'll see. I'll take a look for you just to... If anything will pop. Yeah, no data. Unfortunately, I can't help you, man. I would if I could. But we'll head back to the Outlier, see if we can find some football here. My overlay is still all screwed up here on OBS. I do not know how to get the chat in the right spot. We'll go with that. I'll tweak this later. Anyways, back to Outlier. See what else we can find here. We're going to skip most of the defensive ones. The Keenan Allen over on the targets is tempting. He got 11 targets against Tennessee last week. Obviously, all these games are not with Caleb Williams. But Odunze, I think he's questionable. He's a game-time decision here. Keenan Allen's also a game-time decision, so we'll see. But I think if he plays, the over on the target is probably a good look. They're at Houston, which means Houston's probably going to be winning the game. And Caleb's going to have to throw for once in his career. He didn't have to do much last week. I think they're going to be down pretty early. I don't think the Chicago defense could hold down the Texans like they held down the Titans. So I think Keenan Allen's going to be involved. I think Caleb Williams is going to have to throw. So their targets over 7, probably a nice pick. He was a target monster with the Chargers, and now that he's with the Bears, a little different role, but still getting a lot of value. We'll keep scrolling down. We're sorting by last 10 games, just because that's probably the easiest thing to start with, and then we can go deeper into like last year and last 5 and things like that. Let's see. Fairbairn under on the extra points. You're also you're Keenan playing. He does get open, man. He at least like gets targets. You know, um, he was a stud for a long time. There's just so many mouths to feed on the Bears, but I think he's the guy. He should be the guy. He's paid the most. So Fairbairn under 2.5 extra points. 9 out of the last 10 against the Chicago defense. It's kind of risky. I know it's 9 out of the last 10, but last year, 11 out of 14. The trend is actually pretty good. I don't remember what the line is for the Texans. Let me go back to OddsJam and it will show me. So we'll go spreads. We'll go main markets. Where are you, spread? Spread markets. Here we are. Point spread. You going to show me the Thursday night game, or are you just going to skip over that? Okay, that's cool. Nice, OddsJam. You're just going to skip over the Texans game for me? The one thing I'm looking for? We'll do it this way. We'll go NFL. Where are you? Wait, why am I thinking it's Thursday? It's fucking Friday. I am like out of it. It's Monday. There we go. Or Sunday Night Football. Sorry, guys. It is late. Texans 6.5 point favorites. They're implied to score. What's that? 45 divided by 2 is 22.5 plus 3. And they're implied to score about 25 points, which is about 3 touchdowns. So it's tough. It's pretty tough to take the Fairbairn under any extra points. I don't know if I'd go there. I generally don't with kickers. Just not enough experience with it. But if you want to go there, you can. Sam Darnold under on the fantasy score. He just got under against the Giants last week, like by the skin of his teeth. But he's going against the 49ers. And this is like a sink or swim game for Sam Darnold. This is like his first true matchup with a decent defense as the guy. Last year he had 17.46 against the Rams in a spot start. Yeah, I don't know if I can go there with Darnold. I think the under is probably a good move. It's Sam Darnold, right? Like, the guy sucks. Nico Collins over fantasy. Let's go do look at Bryce Young first. So Bryce Young looked absolutely terrible again. He might be the worst quarterback in the league right now. Like, and he might be worse than Sam Darnold. I mean, when you're implied 12 fantasy points against the Chargers, that's it's not good. I mean, 11.64 last week, got destroyed. 4-3. He had the one good game against the Packers last year, but everything else just terrible, man. He's just what a waste of a pick, really. He did have, a few good games early on, at least against Detroit there, but garbage time. Like, if they're getting blown away, he'll get his points in garbage time. Probably not a bet I want to make. I'll probably stay away from Bryce Young, but the Nico Collins, that's one I like. Last 10 games, he went over every single time. 17.7 last week in a close game against the Colts last year. Obviously, Stephon Diggs wasn't with the team last year, but Collins pretty much was the guy, and the volume's still going to be there, It opened at 11.5, so it hasn't really moved either way. The Bears are a decent defense, but, I mean, they're going to throw. They always throw. If we look at his receptions and targets last week, he still got 10 targets last week. Actually, that's last year, sorry. He had 8 targets last week. 6 receptions on those 8 targets. He's still the guy. And I think he's a pretty good bet to go over on the fantasy score. And he doesn't need a touchdown to go over that. That's literally just like 4 catches for 90 yards or so. Or 6 catches for 80 yards. So pretty solid value there on Underdog for Nico Collins. Yoshi Voss under on the fantasy score. I already touched on him. CeeDee Lamb over on the fantasy score. He had a really subpar game, I guess you could say, for him last week. But he really didn't need to do anything at all. The Cowboys just destroyed the Browns. It wasn't even really a close game. I know it was only a 16-point game, but it wasn't close. If this game's a little closer against the Saints, I think CeeDee Lamb has a pretty good shot to go over. I mean, 9 out of his last 10 games. Looking at last year, 14 out of 18. It's just a good trend I want to ride, and he's probably going to land a touchdown. And that's 6 points right there. So if he gets the touchdown, there's really not much else he needs to do. So really good play on CeeDee Lamb over on the fantasy score. Garbage time made the score closer. It did. And quite honestly, that game could have been a lot closer. If the Amari Cooper bomb... Deshaun Watson was just bad. Like, he had Amari Cooper wide open for a touchdown, and he missed him. Njoku had a pretty good start, but then he got hurt. So, I don't know. Deshaun Watson's in the shitter right now. I mean, his new allegations just came out, and they don't look very good for him. So, I'd like to see him out of the league. We'll skip Mahomes. I don't know if I could stomach a Mahomes under on the fantasy score. Darnell Mooney, under 2.5 first downs. This one looks pretty good. That Atlanta-Pittsburgh game last week was pretty rough, but it might be the same this week against Philadelphia on Monday night. Famous Jameis time soon. It probably should be his time now. I mean, can you imagine the output for Amari Cooper if Jameis is starting? I mean, he just... Think of when he was with the Buccaneers, when he was just throwing to Mike Evans every single play. Like, I could see that going with Amari Cooper, or even like Judy or something. God, the fantasy output for those guys would be amazing. But Darnell Mooney, under 2.5 first downs. He used to be like a deep threat back then. Not so much anymore. 1 first down. Like, I think there's good value in this. I know he's the number 3 option probably. Maybe be number 4. But behind like Bijan Robinson on the targets, because we got London, you got Pitts, you got Bijan, and Mooney is probably number 4. So I can't see a world where he gets over 2.5 first downs. These first down lines are really like skeptical to me between this one and like Tank Bigsby and things. I don't really know. I don't know what they're thinking on some of these. I don't really know. But this Darnell Mooney under on the 2.5 first downs, I might make a play with that one. We'll add it to the list here. I want to go back up and add those other ones to the list too, so I don't forget about them later. There was that guy. There was the Allen I liked. There was Yoshi Voss. I like the Carr, and obviously Bigsby. So, and if you guys want access to Outlier, they do offer a 7-day free trial. There's like a link in the description or something. So, if you want to do a 7-day free trial in Outlier and start looking at some of these charts that I look at every single day, you guys are, it's free for the first week, so you might as well give it a shot. And then I think the price is pretty reasonable. I think it's only like $20 a month or something like that, so not bad at all. Do I think Devontae Adams more than 49.5 total yards? Is that Devontae Adams, 49.5? Is it really that low? I guess it makes sense with Minshew, right? Or is it Minshew? Yeah. 40? Do you mean 59.5 receiving yards? Or is it 49.5 on another book? It opened at 63.5 and it got bet down. Oh, it's discounted? Yeah, always take the discounts. I don't know if I have that. I might have already placed the play with a discount, though. You're just 49.5. I think I placed the play with the other discount, and I lost. No, I did the... I think I did do a discount, but I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, we got the points by Brianna Jones. Hell yeah, I'll have to see that. I think I did one with the discount yesterday and it lost, but I don't know what it was. Yeah, maybe I didn't. Maybe I just didn't get the discount. I got discounts for college football tomorrow that like Luther Burden. Yeah, maybe I didn't get a discount for the NFL. I got the free play with Lamb. So maybe I got that instead. I don't really know. Do you guys all have this Lamb gimme play? You have Burden? What about Lamb? Do you have the Lamb one? And then I also had one with... Well, it wasn't with Kikuchi. It was like a gimme. Yeah, the Lamb's been around a bit. So this was like a gimme play. Where it's the promo and you have like the gimme thing you could do. So that's what I used here. I mean, that's gonna be nice too. That's gonna be at least $150. And then I can't see a world where this loses. I really can't. So nice. We're going to have a nice solid day again tonight, which is good to see. But yeah, the 49, I think you just always take the discounts. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always value in those, so that's why you always take them. And if you look here, if I go to his alt line, 49.5, 6 out of his last 10. Last game he had 59. But obviously, last year wasn't with Minshew. I can't see a world where he doesn't get 49.5. Unless Baltimore just smothers him. Or, Vegas just lays a complete egg. Which is possible, but he's Devontae Adams. I mean, he's so damn good. Let's keep going down the list here. See what else we could find. The Mooney first downs I liked. Get rid of the Mason one. These longest reception ones are always kind of interesting to me. Because you're banking on a guy either breaking a few tackles on some of these cases and breaking out because they're not going to get a deep ball. There's no fucking way McLaughlin, is a running back. He's not going to get a long pass or anything. It's going to be a screen that he might have just run. This one opened at 11.5, dropped down to 10.5, went back to 11.5, then dropped down again. So 11's probably the safe number there, what they would want to post. Hasn't gone over 11.5. And it also hasn't gone below 10.5. Obviously, there's not a lot of value in this. But following the trend, it's probably not a bad play. Last year, he had 3 games where he had over a 10-yard reception. I wonder about at home games here. 5 of 7 at home last year. Yeah, I think it's a gamble. I'm probably not going to play it myself. I like it. It's okay. He only had a 3-yard reception last week, and how many targets did he have? He had 5 targets. He had 5 receptions last week for a 3-yard reception for the longest. So maybe that is not a bad play for the McLaughlin. There's just so many running backs on Denver. They have so many guys. Did this show me last week, actually? No, it's this week. Pittsburgh, Denver. Yeah. I've got a bet on that game on the under. That's why I was thinking it was last week. All right, Christian Kirk over on the reception. Did he do it last week? He did. I'm not sure if I bet this or if I was going to bet this and I didn't. But I saw it and I thought about playing it. I just don't remember if I did or not. But 9 out of the last 10, over 20.5. Last year, 10 out of 12, over 20.5. This is a hell of a play. The 2 games where he didn't go over, he had a 9-yard reception the first game of the year, and then a 20-yard reception. So he was right there. I mean, this is a good play. This is a really good play right here. We'll add it to the picks. So I add all these picks here just so I can reference them later, basically, and then make some slips on Underdog with them. Maybe I'll make a couple plays here with you guys while we're here. Maybe a 6-play long shot or something. But all these plays that I'm finding here are probably plays that I'll place entries on. Chig, the tight end for Tennessee. 9 of the last 10 games, over 11.5. Last year, it was only 12 out of 17, not as strong, but you have twice that's 11. Didn't have a head-to-head matchup against the Jets last year, obviously, but pretty good chance he gets another long catch. He only had 2 targets last week, and one of them was a long reception. But, Tennessee looked really bad. I mean, Will Levis did not look very good last week. I don't know if it was Will Levis just being terrible, which a couple of those throws in the game were pretty bad, but maybe the Bears defense just was no joke. The Jets defense is supposed to be super good as well, but they got destroyed on the ground against San Francisco. So maybe the way to beat the Jets is on the ground and not by throwing. So I would take this one with a grain of salt. I probably won't play it just because I fear the Jets defense, and they historically have done pretty well against tight ends. But following the trend here, it's not bad. His average is 20 yards on his longest reception. Obviously skewed a bit here by a 39 and a 25. The median's 19 as well. So I think there's some good value right there for over 11.5. I just don't think I'm going to go there myself. If there's any other players you guys want me to look for, just let me know. And I'll just keep going down the list here. These are 9 in the last 10 games we're just going down right now. And there's a handful of them left still. So we can keep going for a bit. And then we can also look at last year and head-to-heads as well if you guys wanted. Or we can go and shift over to, like, college football tomorrow, too. See if we can find some college plays for tomorrow. I don't know. I'm doing this for you guys. I got nothing else to do tonight, so I figured I'd pop on a live stream and find some more plays. Because I need to find plays for Sunday anyways, so you guys can kind of see my thought process behind a lot of these, too. I'm going to skip over to just the Gesicki just because of the T. Higgins injury and everything. Rachaad White over 11.5 yards on his longest rush. Now, this guy's fucking dusty. Like, he's not a really good runner. He's a really good receiving back. He's probably going to start losing carries to Bucky Irving pretty quick in the season. But that being said, last 10 games, over 11.5 yards on his longest rush. 9 out of 10 went over. The one under was an 11. Head-to-head last year, he had one game where it was 8 yards, one was 16. The full season last year was about 2/3 of the time. But the last 10 is what I'm really looking at. And there's some good value in this line. I think I'd probably go there on the Rachaad White. I know he's bad at running the football, but they're going to give it to him. And they might end up with the lead in this game. Tampa Bay's not a bad team. And Baker Mayfield's a pretty good quarterback. So I think this is a good play based on the last 10 games. And I'm actually going to add it to my list here. The Burrow passing completion percentage, I'm going to skip. Same with the Bryce Young on the passing first downs. The reason I'm skipping Burrow is just because of... there's so many question marks with his receivers right now, and I kind of want to wait and see until, who's the guy? Like, Higgins is going to be out again, obviously. Is Chase going to play a full game, or is he going to be limited again? Is Yoshi Voss going to be the guy, or is it going to be Irvin? Mike Gesicki's in there, too. I think they have Hudson still there, the backup tight end, so... can I look at a few more under first downs and Underdog? Yeah, I could actually look at that specifically, probably, the first downs here. So there's a lot of... this Bigsby one just makes no sense. The Mooney's kind of... There's some decent value in that, too. Mason, I just don't want to touch. He looked so good last week, it might just be the San Francisco line. Justin Fields over 3 first downs here. I'd assume... I don't know if this is passing or if this is rushing. This is probably rushing. This has to be rushing, because 3 first downs passing would be nothing. So I don't know enough about Denver's defense. If they're playing a man defense, I'd have to look into it a bit more. I'm not sure if Outlier will show me that if they play man or zone at a higher percentage. But if they were playing a man defense, so if Pittsburgh's playing Detroit this year, because last year I peppered this every single time, because Detroit plays a predominantly man defensive scheme. And when you're playing man defense, that leaves a rushing quarterback with a lot of room to run. Because the cornerbacks, they are facing the other direction, essentially. Because when you're playing man, you're only looking at your receiver. So Justin Fields just needs to navigate the front 7 in that case, or front 6, when it's a man defense. I don't know enough about the Denver defense, if they're playing man or not. And I'd assume Fields is going to get the start again. It might be Russell Wilson. So we'll just move on from this one, go to the next one. Drake London, under 3.5 first downs. This one actually surprised me a bit. Because this guy's good. He's really good. Kirk Cousins, though, did not look very good last week. The Atlanta offense looked as shitty last week as it did last year. 8 out of the last 10 games, Drake London's gone under 3.5 first downs. He had the 2 breakout games, both against division opponents. So, that's pretty important. Going back, there were 2 other games not against division opponents. But on all of his away games last year, he did not have over 3.5 first downs. So solid trend. 9 out of 9 on away games last year. Not over 3.5 first downs for Drake London. Probably a solid play if you wanted to go with more of those. We're getting into the 80% now. Still strong, obviously, as you could tell with the London play, but not as strong as the 90%, 9 out of 10. But we'll take a look through 80%, and then after 80%, we'll probably just cut it off because there's just so many other plays out there we can look at. Kittle under 2.5 first downs. This makes a lot of sense to me, actually. Kittle's games, he either does a shit ton, or he's just kind of meh, and he does his thing. So it's a very volatile situation with George Kittle. He might have that 5 breakout, or he might have 1. I think I actually had this exact play last week. I had a lot of unders on Kittle. Last year, he had a really big stretch, so maybe be a bit careful on this one, on the first downs. Head-to-head against Minnesota, he had 5 first downs last year, back in October. So I'd probably stay away from Kittle here. Heading to Cooper Kupp. Now, Puka Nacua is going to be out for a bit. I would not touch a Cooper Kupp under with Nacua out. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know they might juice his line a little much to where the role, they might not juice it enough to where it portrays the actual role of what it's going to be without Nacua. So I just don't want to touch an under. It's a wait and see for me. Rachaad White, there's our guy again, over 3.5 first downs. I mean, that's including his receptions. So that's why it's a pretty strong play. 8 out of last 10 games. Last game he had 3. He didn't need to do much against Washington. He'll probably need to do a little bit more against Detroit. I think this game's going to be a pretty close game. Last year, 0. I don't know how much he played in that first game. But 5 in the second game. Last year, 13 out of 19 games, over 3.5 first downs. This year, he had 3. I think it's a solid play. That's a second really good play with Rachaad White. I know I like the under on his longest rush, which essentially was a first down, but he gets his action in the receiving game, and that's how he'll get his first downs. It'll be the receptions. And then, let's see, Yoshi Voss, we're going to skip. Tony Pollard. I didn't really watch much of him last week, but even with getting destroyed, he still had 5 first downs. The Jets defense just got ran over by Jordan Mason and the San Francisco 49ers. So Pollard's over on the first downs, probably a really solid play. Last year he had 5. Obviously he was with Dallas, but pretty good matchup for him, and I think it's a definite chance for him to have over 3.5 first downs, and that will be rushing. It won't be receiving. Spears is more the receiving guy, but Pollard between the sticks. I know he probably doesn't have the breakout he had a couple years ago. He had that burst of speed right out the gate, but solid play nonetheless. The Jets run defense looked really bad, but that's probably it on the first downs plays. We'll head back to looking at everything here. We're probably almost done looking at plays, so any other questions you have for players or props, just let me know. And then I'll put this in the VOD too, so you guys can all watch it, later if you want to reference it or anything. Obviously, there's probably going to be some more lines posted on Underdog between now and kickoff on Sunday, but there's already a lot of value out there. I mean, I've got 15 plays here on my slips. We have good value that we can make some plays on. So Van Jefferson under on the receiving yards. Now last year he was with the Rams, or he was with the Falcons last year, and had a decent role, not a big role, but he was involved a little bit. Last week he only had 1 receiving yard against Pittsburgh. I think this is another tough spot for him. I mean, he had 2 targets last week. Atlanta looked so bad, though. So I really don't want to look too much into that game because Pittsburgh really needs to do a lot. He had 2 targets. But Justin Fields, if Justin Fields is the quarterback, I mean, all his receivers get a downgrade. For Tank Bigsby, is it under or higher? It's under. He has never had over 2.5 first downs his entire career, and I don't know why it's a line. I really don't know why it's out there. Van Jefferson, It depends if it's Fields. It's probably Fields. If it is Fields, I like the under. If it's Russell Wilson, I'd probably wait a minute and not take this play. But yeah, no, the Tank Bigsby's, it's under. Well, I'll go back to it. Last year, or one game. One game, his first game of his career, he had over 3 first downs. But like last week, he only had, how many carries did he have last week? Rushing yards. He had 12 rushing attempts last week, right? And he went fucking nowhere. Like, he did nothing. So, and it was all garbage time. So, like, if it's a close game, which it might be, he's not going to be getting run. And I know they want to limit Etienne a bit more this year. But if it's close, there's really no need for Bigsby to be in. So P. Ryan, over 8.5 receiving yards. He's new with the team. They just signed him off waivers before the game last week. It was a very tough read. He did get over on the number last week, so that is promising. And they said he's going to have the McKinnon role. So he might actually be a decent play. I'm not sure if I have the confidence to go there or not, because you're basically relying him on getting like 3 targets, and I'm not sure if he will. Because Pacheco does get some catches, but you got to think P. Ryan will probably get 2 targets, and it's just a matter of what he does with those. Michael Mayer, over on the receiving yards. He only had 3 receiving yards last week. They drafted Bowers to really take, I don't know, back-to-back years they drafted tight ends pretty early on. So it's probably similar to a scenario like the Ravens with Likely and Andrews. It's some weeks might be Meyer, some weeks might be the other guy, or Bowers. So I'm just going to stay away from this one. I know the trend points in that direction, but all of this was without Brock Bowers. So Jaden Reed, over 3 receptions. He had that massive game last week, but he only had 4 catches. He had, 2 touchdowns or a long touchdown? 2 touchdowns. One of them was a really long touchdown. Only 4 catches last week. So the over 3.5, it's plus odds. Is that plus an underdog? Reed. So over 3 receptions, what we're looking at. I think 3 is a good number for him. I think you'd probably get away with 3. I mean, look at this. 9 of the last 10 games. The one game he had 0. He might have been hurt. Last year, he had 3 almost every single game. Yeah, this is a definite play, the over 3. There's no doubt on that one. No doubt on the over 3 for Jaden Reed. 11 out of 18 last year, but 4 pushes. So it was really 15 out of 18. So I think this is a really good play. Obviously, there's so many mouths to feed on Green Bay, and it is Malik Willis throwing the ball. You do have to remember that. It is Willis. It's not going to be Jordan Love this week. But I can still see him getting 3 catches, especially against the Colts. Colts might get out with an early lead. Green Bay might have to pass. I know they're going to try to establish the run early, but they'll get down, and they're going to have to pass. Same with Romeo Doubs. Similar scenario as Jaden Reed, whichever one you want to go with. Aaron Jones, over 12.5 rushing attempts. Now, we did cash this one last week. I had this exact play against the Giants. He cashed it on like one of the last drives of the game, because I think they were trying to get him over 100 yards is what it was. They were trying to get him over 100, and they couldn't get him there, and they didn't want to push him too much. They are going to limit his carries this year. They came out and said they do not want him running a lot, and the 49ers defense, 49ers probably going to have a lead in this one. They have a really strong front 7. I think this is an under. I don't think this is an overplay. As you can tell from the line, too, it opened up at 11.5. It went up to 12.5, back to 11, then up to 12. Now that it's at 12.5, I'd say it's an underplay, even though the trends are pointing over here. So like I said, they're going to want to limit him, and I think they're going to be losing. Let's see what else we could find here. Are there any other plays you want me to look at for the NFL on Sunday, or should we go take a look at maybe some college football for tomorrow? I guess I can make some plays over on Underdog while we're here. Because I did want to place the Yoshi Voss one. So we were going to go with under on his longest reception is what it was. And then you have Jason Myers more than 6.5. Yeah, I have that too, actually. I have that in... I looked at that one a couple days ago, and it looked good then. I'm not sure why it's not showing here. Maybe it was something else I was looking at, but it was a good play when I put it on there. So I'm going to go with the Yoshi Voss Mason here. Could do the two-man, but we got 2 unders in a row. And then we were maybe going to add... I could add the car. I wish I could see how many games Dallas has allowed a completion percentage over this amount. I guess I can go back and look at it if I wanted to. I don't know if it'll show me anywhere. Probably not. Yeah, probably not. Let's see. Maybe it's here. Yeah, there's no other way for me to see that. But I'm going to go with the over on this one. We'll just make this play here. We'll go with Mason. We'll go Carr. We'll go over on the completion percentage, 63.1, 25 bucks. We'll play it. So there's that guy. I'll post these in the Discord later too, so you guys can tail it. But obviously you're getting a first look on these, so if the lines move, you guys can get on it before everyone else. Then maybe we should do a 6-man too or something. Let's go with Keenan. Where are you, Keenan? There we are. 7 targets. We're going to go with... Who else do we have here? Did I touch on the Stafford completion here? I think that was when I touched on the other YouTube video. How I like to play. We got Zeke on the longest rush. We have Carr. Bigsby on the first down. I can get rid of one. Oh, the Kirk on the receptions. That was one I loved. I loved the Kirk on the longest reception. So Christian Kirk over 20.5 on the longest reception. See, I had the Jason Myers kicking points already. And let's go with the Rachaad White on the rush. Longest rush on the over. Was it over? No, it wasn't longest rush that I liked, was it? Or was it first downs that I liked? No, it must have been the longest rush because I have it there. We'll go with the Mooney under on the first downs. We'll go with that. So we'll go Mooney. And then I'll do a 6-pick with these 6 plays here. So Mooney lower than that on the first downs. We'll reuse those guys. We'll go back here. Who'd we have? We had Mason, Carr, and Yoshi Voss. So Mason, Carr, completion percentage, and Yoshi Voss. And that was under on the longest reception, right? Yeah. Okay, that's a 6-pick play. $10 to win $250. All right. So we found some good plays here. You know, we spent almost an hour trying to find some plays. We cashed actually on our WNBA, which is kind of nice. You know, this is a winner. That's a winner. So it's gonna be a profitable day again. I actually have a streak going. I am six deep on my streak. So I am 4 more away from $1,000 there. So that'll be nice if I can get that. The plays we made plays that I made earlier, the Burden, Ollie Gordon higher on the rushing yards, and Garrett Green lower on the passing yards. I doubt these lines are still there. I had 118.5 on Gordon, and now it's probably... No, it's still 118.5, so if you still have that line there, it's probably a solid play to take it. And then the other one I had was Garrett Green lower on the passing yards. And then, I had Lamb and Bigsby, which we talked about. I'll probably have a few more entries with Bigsby. What's up, Andre? How you doing, man? We made a lot of plays so far, so if you're just popping in, I'm just recapping the ones we made. But if you wanted, I'll post the VOD to this later. I'm not sure if it might automatically post, actually, so where you can watch it. So I went through probably like 40 to 50 players on Outlier, and we just kind of picked our favorites, and we made some entries. So, Tank Bigsby, I posted that in the Discord already. And then I added Jordan Mason lower on receiving yards, Derek Carr higher in completion percentage, and Yoshi Voss lower on his longest reception. We had Darnell Mooney lower than 2.5 rushing receiving first downs, Christian Kirk higher on the longest reception, and Keenan Allen higher on the targets. And then we just combined those 6 plays to do a 6-pick flex play on Underdog here to try to win $250 from it. And hopefully we could have a pretty solid Sunday. What's my most confident 2-man? If you have the free pick with CeeDee Lamb, do this one exactly. This Tank Bigsby is probably my favorite play in the week right now. Lower than 2.5 first downs. I'll go to the trend here and show you it. Where are we? Jags. So first downs, we got under. So in his entire career, one game, he's had over 2.5 first downs, and that was his very first game of his career. I don't know why this line's a thing. I really don't. He had some garbage time run last week, and he had 73 yards, but it was some garbage time. I know this was 20-17, pretty close game, but it was garbage. You use your CD square? That's fine. There's plenty of other plays I like here. So, if I had to choose, probably the Yoshi Voss under on the reception or Jordan Mason lower on the receiving yards. Jordan Mason had the really big game last week, but it was all rushing. He really didn't do much in the receiving aspect of it. And then Yoshi Voss, he's going to be filling in with T. Higgins out. But, there's also going to be other guys filling in too. There's going to be Irvin. There's going to be Gesicki getting more. Jamar Chase, if he's not limited, he'll take up a lot of target share. When did Underdog get alt lines? Quite a bit ago. I didn't post any alt lines here, but yeah, there's quite a bit of alt lines on Underdog. I want to say maybe like a month ago they started doing it. Maybe longer. Maybe it was a few months ago. You can actually make some really cool plays on Underdog with the alt lines. So I actually filter out all the alt lines on my sheet here. But if I unfilter, are there any players I think go nuclear this week that are worth laddering up? I honestly haven't looked too much into that just yet. That's usually a Saturday thing for me. But I'll let you know. If you want to reach out to me in the Discord or maybe post it, the question again in like the NFL channel, that'll at least give me a reminder to go back in there and just kind of let you know. But I haven't looked into laddering just yet. Definitely something I want to do. I want to do more of that this year, taking the over on the rushing or receiving yards or passing yards or something. Or like stacking a game, taking ladders on a full game, expecting it to shoot out kind of thing. So like if I show all the alt lines on Underdog here, because I normally filter them out, and I look at like, last 10 games, 100%. Let's see. So like Tolbert under on the receptions, under 2.5 receptions, last 10 games, 100%. There's a bunch of alt lines that will show up here. Kyler Gordon over 0.5 assists, 90%. So let's filter by last year. $75 on Bigsby, Mason, Carr, and Yoshi in my honor. Let's ride, man. Let's cash it. You're on chalkboard. I don't think I can play on chalkboard anymore. I used to, and then they got rid of it in Florida. Do I like betting on touchdowns? I personally don't do it very often. Zach Betts, who's in the Discord, he posts touchdown long shot props every single week. So let me go back to the server. He actually almost cashed a big one last week. Here, and he does like the ladders too. So like on Monday, he had like Purdy on the alt passing yards, Kittle, like he had all the alt totals, and then he had a yards ticket there for Sunday Night Football, like same game parlays, anytime touchdown scores there. He goes for those long shot ones. Um, Obviously, he might win only like 2 or 3 on the year, but there was one of them that he almost got. I don't remember which one. It might have been this one. The first game of the year. I think he had all these except for like Mark Andrews or something like that. And then like a touchdown prop, he had. Oh, this one. He almost had this one too. So he's all about those big same game parlays. So I would, if you want to do those long shot ones, look at Zach's. Since I'm betting so long, do I notice when a player's line is off right away? Generally, yeah. But it's because I have the tools. I wouldn't be able to do this stuff without like Outlier or without like Daily Grind Fantasy. All right, Flacco, have a good night, man. I'll probably only stick around for a few more minutes, so appreciate you sticking around, and hopefully we can make some money this week. But Andre, back to your question. So I kind of use the tools that are given to me. Like Outlier won't really show me too much on like a value standpoint. They do a little bit, but not a ton. OddsJam, Odds Shopper, and DG Fantasy are the ones that will show me the value. So like if I let's go to DG Fantasy for example, and we'll look at Underdog. So I'll click Underdog here, and if I go to NFL, so this will show me all the discrepancies in the lines here. So like the Courtland Sutton over on the receptions, it's minus 119 on Underdog theoretically. And you see all the other major sports books are like minus 128, minus 156, minus 140. So Underdog's discounted, but that's just because of the way it's set up, because it's a flat payout structure on Underdog. Sometimes there are discrepancies in the numbers itself, like the Joe Mixon rushing attempts here. 17.5 on Underdog, 17.5 FanDuel, 17.5 DraftKings, but then like BetMGM and Caesars are both 18.5, so that's where I'll see the differences, and that's why this over on the rushing attempts is a solid play. Because it's too low. It's going to move to 18.5 at some point before kickoff, most likely. So that's where like these tools are like super, super useful for us. You can kind of see it here on the Outlier. I don't know of an example off the top of my head. Maybe who was a good one to show? I don't know who a good one to show is. Maybe the white? Yeah, white here. So you see it opened at 11.5, went up to 12.5, but then back down to 11.5. That means more sharp money is coming in on the under, since 12.5 is probably too high. So that's where I kind of see the value there. My thoughts on Alvin Kamara's receptions. Let's take a look. So Kamara, obviously he has a pretty big role in that offense. New Orleans will probably be losing to Dallas, I would think. I mean, Dallas is a pretty big favorite. So let's look in here. Receptions. What number are you looking at? 4.5? So 4.5, I'm kind of on the fence of. Dallas, it's tough. So like versus running backs, they average 3.4 receptions allowed per game to running backs. I'm not sure what the sample size is on this. It might be over a year. It might be just from last year. But Alvin Kamara, he's a guy who's going to get his target share. It just depends if they're losing. If they're losing, he'll get more catches. He'll have that big game where he'll have 6 or 7 catches, or like the 12 or 13, one of these spike games like this. But if New Orleans somehow ends up ahead, it's pretty unlikely that he gets over to the receptions number. Now, looking at the trend, 4.5 is tough. If the number was 4, it'd be amazing. But the 4.5 is tough. It's like a 50-50 shot, maybe a 60-40 shot. He'll get the targets. I mean, he's going to get the 5 targets at a minimum. It's just a matter if he catches them all or not. I personally think their right move in this game is to ride Kamara and get him involved in the passing game like they normally do. So I like the play personally, just on like a personal standpoint. But like on a data standpoint, it's very close to a toss-up. Yeah, but Outlier is pretty neat. So you can see all the trends like this on Outlier. They have a 7-day free trial. So if you want to sign up, do that. I think I have a link in the description or whatever. If you want to sign up and do the 7-day free trial and like try to find your plays and maybe make some cash, I would say go for it. Brian Robinson and Breece Hall receiving yards. So let's start with Brian Robinson. So receiving yards here, 10.5 is the number there. You know, he had a couple spike weeks, obviously, last year. He's splitting with Austin Eckler now, though. So Austin Eckler is going to be in the way of some of this. He's going to get some catches. But like last week, he had 49 receiving yards against Tampa. The Giants suck. I mean, they were really bad last week. I think it's a solid play. I mean, 6 out of the last 10 is okay. It's not like amazing, but the Giants really bad. One of those misses was 10, so he like just missed. The zeros, he might not have even played in those games very much. So he's probably going to get 3 to 4 targets. I'd say it's a good line. If he gets 4 targets, I mean, 10.5 receiving yards should be almost a cakewalk, you know? Like anytime he gets 4 targets, he gets it. Anytime he gets 3 targets, he basically gets it. So if you can get 3 catches for him, it's a done deal. And then Breece Hall on the receiving yards. So Breece Hall will apply here. And yards. So 30.5 receiving yards. That's a bit higher. He's the type of player that needs to break one out. Against Tennessee, it depends on the flow. The line opened up at 29.5. It went up to 30.5, back down to 29.5, then back up to 30.5. I lean the over in this. Money's coming on the over. That's why it's been ticking up. I'm not sure what it is on the other sports books, but I'd say it's a really solid play based on value in itself because the line is ticking up. Last 10 games, 6 out of 10, 29 yards in one game, so it's 7 out of 10. Last year, see the spikes. That's what it was. He had some games where it really wasn't a lot, but then he'd break out a long catch. So I think on the Breece Hall receiving yards, you're kind of banking on him breaking a tackle or two on a screen or like a wheel or something. So just be wary of that when you have the Breece Hall over on the receiving yards. You got burned so bad on James Cook receiving. You did 18. You got 1 catch for 17. That was a rough game, man. Especially if you bet the over on like just the game total in general. My buddy had, I think he had like Bills money line and like over 42 or something like that, and the game ended on 41. So it was really, I mean, Miami sucked. Plain and simple. Like Tua didn't look good. Then he got hurt, and it was just total shit. Shit hitting the fan at that point. So, the Dolphins are basically cooked in that game. They had no chance, and that's kind of why James Cook didn't need to get another reception, because at that point they're just gonna run it up the gut, chew some clock, and then just go home with the win. But all right, I think that's gonna wrap up the stream for me. It's been about an hour. If you want to watch the VOD, go right ahead. You can skip around and try to find some plays. I think we found like 15 plays or so. You got one more question? Yeah, shoot it my way, man. I'm happy to help you out real quick, and then we'll pop out of here. Yeah, appreciate the help. Yeah, no problem, dude. Hey, what's your name on Discord, man? You're in the server, I assume. That's probably how you found the stream, so. Breece and Anthony Richardson, longest Russ, or Josh Jacobs. Jacobs instead of Breece, I assume, right? Yeah, I got it. Let's see. Longest rush, 13.5. So he's gotten over that on 6 out of his last 10 games. Twice he had 11. Obviously, a lot of these were last year with the Raiders, so I can't really talk about too much. But if Marshawn Lloyd's going to be out again, which it looks like it looks like Marshawn Lloyd's going to play this week. So that might limit his carries. Jacobs, not limit them, but you know what I mean. He's going to get a split with Marshawn Lloyd. So I'd be wary of that. Obviously, he had a long rush last game against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Colts, they're an okay rush defense. They're not like amazing by any means, but they're not bad. So I'd personally stay away from this play. I'm not really high on it. And then Anthony Richardson on the other side. And then Zach, I'll get to your question on Wan'Dale right after that. You want longest rush for Richardson? It looked like. Where are you here? I don't know if Underdog has that line. Doesn't look like they do. I assume it's on chalkboard or whatever you're looking. There it is, longest rush. All right, 13.5. Not an Underdog, I don't think, but it's on some books. So obviously he's only played 5 games in his career. He's a scrambling quarterback. 12, 18, 23, 19. It's trending to an over. You know, opened up 13.5, bet up to 14.5, bet back down to 13, then 14, then back at 13. So I think it's a really strong number at 13.5. What I would say at 13.5, go over. At 14.5, go under, just because of the way the market works. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, 38.5 receiving yards. You know, Daniel Jones, is he going to show up? I mean, I know he's fucking K. Adams, but, man, he was bad. He was really bad. So 38.5. So he's 41.5 on Underdog, so if you've got 38.5, take the over. Open up at 37, bet up to 41. 100%, take that over if it's 38.5. There's a good value in the line. Whether it hits or not, that's another question, but there's value in the line, and that's kind of what you're looking for. So there's really good value in the line. I would take it just on that principle alone. Do I know if it's going to win or lose? I have no clue, but the number's low, so that's why I would take it. But that's going to wrap it up for me here. If you want to see, you know, I touched on, I came up with like 15 plays earlier in the stream. So if you missed those, just go back and watch the VOD, and hopefully we can stay cashed in this week. You know, we've got a few plays that we made here. If you DM me on Discord after helping, yeah, man, post it. You don't even need to DM me. Post it in the in the NFL chat, because I'm sure if you have a question, some other people are wanting to see it too. So just post it in there. I'll be sure to help you out the best I can. That's what I'm here to do. Hopefully we can make some cash this week. I appreciate you guys sticking around for the stream. I'm hopefully going to start doing more of these, whether it's on YouTube or TikTok or maybe like in the Discord itself, but we'll figure it out. But thanks for sticking around, guys. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and let's make some cash.